So this is the good at everything Celestial Tempest build. And I was not actually going to make a video on this because I've only been playing Elementalists for about a month. And I did not intend to make a video because I was certain there was much better builds out there that you guys can use. But after many in-game messages and also some messages on the channel, I relented and I decided to make a video of my optimized version of the Celestial Tempest build that I'm using. And I have to admit, it is the easiest build I've ever played in this game. I think it should be nerfed. It's quite overpowered, and you don't really struggle with any 1 versus 1s. There are builds that can give you a hard time. For example, a thief can interrupt a lot of your abilities, your overloads, and steal some of your boons. And necros can interrupt you and also corrupt your boons. So there are some builds that are nuisances, but with this build, you don't have any weaknesses because in fire you have plenty of burst potential and you can drop down fields that you can combo off of. In water, you have a ton of sustain. You have healing, you have frost aura, which gives you reduction. You have overloads that help you heal and grant boons. You have lightning, which gives you mobility, and it gives you CC as well, because shocking aura interrupts anybody who basically tries to hurt you, and it drops a lightning field at the end of it, so it's great CC. Earth is amazing as well because it has blast and it has leap finishers, which can really synergize from all the fields that you have, and churning earth is a really hard hitting ability. So you got a lot of tools and elementalists and abilities that are extremely really good. The reason why this build works is because most people think Tempest is support because while they're doing their overloads, they need to be protected. But in this build, you don't have any vulnerabilities like that. If you take a look at fire aura that I have right now, it envelopes me in a fire shield. And that fire shield grants me might every time they hit me. So if they're counter pressuring me, they're gonna eat more burn, okay? And I get more might. So it's a great counter pressuring the counter pressure tool. So when people think I'm weak because I'm twirling, I have 5 seconds of protection, I have stability, and at the end of it, I'm traded to cause an explosion, which is an area of effect, and I also get might. I can get to 25 stacks of might if someone is hitting me. So if they're counter pressuring me and I use fire overload, I can drop them right there, which is really it's really something. I've never had anything like it. The other reason why this build works is all the auras that you have in all your attunements, they synergize very well with my traits and with my gear. So I'll show you those in a second. But more importantly, if you look at the protection, it's not 20%, it's 40%. So with this build, you can actually have 100% protection uptime if you overload your auras. If you overload your attunements and then afterwards use your auras correctly, you use your combo fields correctly. I know it sounds complicated, it's really not. You can really have 100% protection uptime, and it puts you in a position where you can actually fight outnumbers and you can win. And the burst abilities are all AoE, so they hit more than one target. So you have single burst ability and you have multiple people burst ability, tons of mobility, and you have a ton of sustain as well too. So this build has no weaknesses. All right, let me take you into the gear. So in the gear, I am using Celestial for all the pieces that I have. I also want to add, the 2 Ascended pieces that I've added. I added them recently, so in all the clips that I'm about to show you in the gameplay, it was done using exotic level Celestial gear. I am using the Rune of the Earth because your protection is very good. You have 40% protection. It really increases your sustain. You can be a little vulnerable when you're doing your overloads, so people will focus you. So that's why having a little bit of extra toughness, it doesn't hurt. You can copy my traits on the right-hand side. You get better healing effectiveness. So when I'm trying to resustain fights, so when I'm getting auras and that's healing me, or when I'm in water attunement, I can actually sustain better. And the other really cool thing is my magnetic aura. So my magnetic aura, if you're not aware of what magnetic aura does, it actually reflects projectiles. So there's been a ton of times where out of nowhere a ranger will try to interrupt me with a point blank shot, and they have it bounced back at them, and then it synergizes with my sigil absorption. So they try to interrupt me, it procs my magnetic aura, and it reflects and it hits them back, and they get launched into the air, and I take whatever boons that they just gave themselves. So it's hilarious when you see it in game. I think I've got a few clips, but I have a ton of clips where rangers try to shoot me and then they interrupt themselves and I take their boons. It's very satisfying. And I have the Sigil of Doom for my other dagger. So I am using dagger because of the mobility that you have from this combo set. Every time you switch attunements, it counts as a weapon swap. So you can proc a significant amount of Doom on whoever's hitting you. It's just an extremely synergistic build. One more thing to add. The reason why I'm using Dire for daggers isn't because I didn't want Celestial. It's because I didn't have any Celestial daggers. That's why I'm using Dire daggers. Keep that in mind. If you have Celestial, you want to use Celestial. For trinkets, I'm using everything that I have Celestial pieces for. So I have all Celestial with the exception of one piece because I just don't have another ring that is Celestial. But if I had it, I'll put it in. And these are the stats that I'm using. The Celestial stats give this build a lot of damage potential, sustain potential, because Elementalists, their abilities really benefit from power and condition. So Celestial for Elemental is extremely good, and it's extremely powerful for this build. And the reason why it works is because when you're doing your overloads, you don't need to be protected. You can actually use your overloads to counter pressure. And I'll show you how to do that when we get into how to use the build, okay? On the next part, let's go over traits. And for traits, I am traded in Fire, Earth, and I'm traded in Tempest. And I do know from the channel analytics, you guys don't spend a lot of time. So I'll be brief again, and I'll just walk you through basically what it is that, what makes this build work. And what makes this build work is Fire gives you extra power damage, and it gives you condition. And you can remove extra conditions when you transmute your Fire aura. So not just Fire aura, you can transmute any aura. So what that means is if I was in water, if I wanted to get extra condition clear, I can get my Frost aura, right? And then I can consume it for extra healing and to remove conditions. So that's what transmuting means. At the end of my Fire overload, you're gonna see a tornado and an AoE field, and what that does is it's like an extra burst that happens at the end of your Fire overload, and then that can do extra damage. So I'll just show you right now. So you can see I'm doing my Fire overload, and at the end of it, it's going to explode and create a fiery tornado here. And that explosion is called a flame expulsion. And what that does is it does extra damage for you. So when you're bursting targets, Fire is the attunement you want to use when you want to do some lasting damage. Earth is amazing. This is, I don't think I can ever take Earth out, because it reduces damage you take while you're in this attunement. This is what makes your protection more effective. You don't just get 20% incoming damage reduction, When you have Earth, you have 40%. So it really makes your overloads work because you're not weak while you're channeling that ability. Your protection and your stability will and your swiftness will last the duration. You can see it's 5 seconds, 11 seconds, 5 seconds. It lasts longer than my duration of casting fire overload, which is 4 seconds. So you're not weak during that time. And part of the reason why that is because of your high protection uptime at 40%. Something to keep in mind in Earth is every time you immobilize someone, so you have a lot of immobilizes, you also give them bleeding. So you have your aftershock, which can immobilize, and in Earth you also have your Earth 3 that can also mobilize as well too. So lots of that, and you inflict bleeding, and this also gives you passive condition damage. So again, no trade-offs and lots of bonuses. And Stoneheart, this ability has saved me from getting one shot from Dragon Hunters, Rangers, and one-shot Mesmers, certain Revenants. When I see that they're using their offensive weapon, I just switch to Earth, and Stoneheart makes it so they can't crit. So as soon as they're done, I'll try to immobilize them and then switch to fire if I want to burst them, or lightning if I want to CC them and soften them up before I switch to fire. So very, very, very cool. Tempest, it's the overloads. You take this trait line because the overloads give you a lot of cool stuff. This ability here, Unstable Conduit, will let you get an aura at the end of casting. So at the end of fire, you saw the fire aura. At the end of earth, I'll just do it right now. You can get a aura at the end of it. So you can see here's my magnetic aura, and I can also combo that at electricity and get more. Sorry, not electricity, combo that earth and tornado, and I'll also get more magnetic aura. You get free concentration, okay? So no conditions, more perks. And every time you use your overloads, you get swiftness. And this part's important as well too, because when you're casting an overload, you don't want to get interrupted. So if I was in fire and I was doing my overload, I don't want to be interrupted while I'm channeling my overload, because I get an aura when I finish. That's my reward. So I want to finish it. So stability really helps when I don't get knocked down. Swiftness helps me keep on my target, because when you're in fire overloads, those who know what's going on, they're going to try to run. So the swiftness really helps me. See how fast I'm moving? It really helps me keep up with them. And then I can drop this on them and then immobilize them right on top of that tornado and then do extra damage. Of course, I can also knock them back and I can churn earth, but I'll go over all of that when we go over my how to use guide. You also, overloads also get increased damage reduction as well. So you get an effectiveness increase from this piece, and you also get, okay, so the Grandmaster for Elementalist, Tempest, sorry, it doesn't matter which one of these you pick. I take this when I'm fighting really bunkery builds. So if I know I'm fighting someone who's really bunkery, I just switch to this. It's 7% damage and condition damage. Isn't amazing, but it's great. I mean, I finish my overload and then I do extra damage. So if I put a ton of burn on them on fire and then I finish my overload, they start taking more damage. So it's really good when you're fighting really bunkery builds or builds that like to run but don't have a lot of sustain. They can die while they're running away from you. This one I've been using a lot recently, because one way to kill a Tempest is to just keep immobilizing them. So a lot of classes that want to gank you, they'll take a lot of their immobilize skills because they can't really stun you. I have Mist Form that stops stun, and I have stability, and I can break stun every time I use an overload. So, you know, if they knock me down, I can typically get out of that. But immobilize, that's hard to clear. So that is why I bring, rebound. So I get an aura, and I can stop myself from dying. I have Mist Form to keep me from dying, and I have teleports. So if they immobilize me near an environment, I can always teleport to get out. But this always helps. You know, it kind of helps you become more slippery, so you can play that role out of a duelist or a roamer. And of course, you have tons of healing and tons of fields and tons of CC, so you can always be lots of support. If you're not sure, then just take Elemental Bastion, because you get a Frost Aura every 30 seconds. Your health will go up and down a lot, so take Elemental Bastion if you're not sure what you want to use. Recently, I've been using a lot of Lucid Singularity because I find people keep trying to mobilize me, so I've been using this a lot, but it doesn't matter which one of these you want to use. They're all very good. Okay, so that's a quick introduction on the build, the gear, and also how the traits work. So you can take a look at my setup, you can take a look at my numbers for my gear, and what I'll do is I will take us over on how to use this build, how to do damage with it, and how to sustain. Okay, so on this part of the video, I'm gonna show you how to do your damage, and also how do you do your sustain. So your damage is, I can show you my rotation. My rotation is quite easy. So normally I can start with lightning or fire. It depends on how far they are from me. So if they're far from me, I always open with Ride the Lightning. I get close, use Shocking Aura, maybe knock them down a bit, hit number 2, and then afterwards I'll use my Shocking Aura. Usually at that point, they're gonna try to run away, right? And then when they try to run away and kite, I attune to fire, and I use Fire 3 to get in close. I drop my fire field, try to bait out some dodges with my fire, hit them with a fire grab, and if they start counter pressuring me at any time, I will use my fire overload. And look at all those targets I hit. As soon as it completes, I leap off of that, knock them down, and then use Churning Earth. And if they counter pressure me again, I will use my Earth, and then repeat. CC them again. Try to stun them. Lightning. Switch to fire. If they counter pressure you, immediately go into your fire overload. And when you finish, hit them with a fire grab and combo out. Okay? So that's a normal rotation you can use, whether it's lightning, fire, earth, or lightning, fire, earth. That's kind of the combo feel that I use. You can probably find your give it a try. Like most of the time I didn't even really need to kite that much unless I was severely outnumbered, because the build itself, when you start using it, you have 100% protection uptime at 40%, and your condition clears come from auras. So every time you get an aura, you clear a condition, and also every time you transmute an aura, you also clear more conditions. And your water 5 will clear a condition, your overload water will pulsing clear a condition, and your ether renewal will clear conditions as well too. So all you have to do is focus on not letting people interrupt you while you're channeling your heals. That clears conditions too. And then, you know, you have your teleports for that, you have your Mist Form to reduce burst damage, and you have Aftershock to reflect while you're trying to escape. So lots of options. So I think that about covers it. Let me know if you have any questions, and give me a like or subscribe, and leave a comment on whether this is the kind of content that you like. I know I did the format this time for the video a little bit different. I do read all the comments to see how, you know, what everyone liked and what everybody disliked. So feel free to leave me a note and help me make better videos. I'll put on some gameplay and enjoy.